I'm surrounded by cicadas. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning here. I'm in the National Gardens here in the center of Athens, Greece. And I'm going to walk my way over to Syntagma Square, grab a coffee, maybe get something to eat, edit out this video and get it up, and then meet Alexander to do some more videos in Kolonaki, in the Kolonaki area of Athens. But I thought we would start talking about some news. I think it's a good place to discuss the news topics, and this is going to kind of be, I think this video is going to be like a Clown World special in a way, because all the stories that I'm going to discuss are just, I can't figure out which one I'm going to make my Clown World. Though I've kind of got an idea which one I'll save for last. But keep in mind that all of these stories are just very, very clownish indeed. So Nancy Pelosi, she was making the media rounds over the past couple of days. She was on the Today Show, and she said that the trip to Taiwan was worth it. That was what Pelosi said with regards to traveling to Taiwan with Paul Pelosi Jr. and her entourage, and escalating tensions between the U.S. and China, jeopardizing the well-being and safety of the people of Taiwan, perhaps being the spark that leads us towards a catastrophic world war. For Pelosi, it was just all worth it. And in the interview, actually, let me break and let me play you the interview, because in this segment, it's about a 7-minute interview, but I'm going to play like a quick 20-second segment. In the segment, Pelosi confuses Taiwan with China, and the Today Show host, she doesn't correct Pelosi. She just lets Pelosi just babble and mumble on. Here's the clip.
We still support the one China policy. We go there to acknowledge the status quo is what our policy is. There was nothing disruptive about that. It was only about saying China is one of the freest societies in the world. Don't take it from me. That's from Freedom House.
Let's talk a little bit.
Democracy, courageous people, and it's just, I don't know why it is, except there's some commercial interests who would like to diminish the relationship.
All right. So that was Pelosi on the Today Show. She also made an appearance on Morning Joe, and she actually mocked Xi Jinping, Chinese leader Xi Jinping, as she said that I think he's in a fragile crisis. He has problems with his economy. He's acting like a scared bully. That is what Pelosi said about the Chinese leader. So not only did she go to Taiwan and make a mess of things, but she's now provoking China as well by calling their leader a scared bully. So that is Pelosi and her latest comments as she's making the mainstream media rounds. And since we're on the subject of China, China has come out with a statement where they are condemning the United States vis-a-vis Ukraine. What an interesting building. This is the museum for the gardens. Okay. So China has come out with a statement, and this is coming from the Chinese ambassador to Russia. But any statement that he's making has already gotten the approval of the Chinese government. So he said, according to TASS News, that the U.S. had initiated 5 rounds of NATO's eastward expansion, directed the color revolution in Ukraine, and driven Russia into a corner in terms of security. The ambassador went on to describe the U.S. as the initiator and chief arsonist of the Ukraine crisis. This is Ambassador Zhang Hanhui, and Zhang claimed that by slapping Moscow with unprecedented sanctions and providing Kiev with yet more weapons, Washington is seeking to prolong the armed conflict for as long as possible. The strategy is aimed at exhausting and crushing Russia eventually. It's aimed at exhausting and crushing Russia eventually. And I am positive that one of China's retaliatory moves with regards to Pelosi's trip to Taiwan is to be more overt with their support for Russia in Ukraine. No doubt about it. I think we're going to see China make a lot more statements blaming the United States and the European Union for what happened in Ukraine, and just, coming out and being more supportive of Russia on the world stage with regards to sanctions, the economic war, the conflict, all of these things. That's going to be one of China's retaliatory moves, one of many that they're making towards the collective West. India has been making moves, and they're doing business. Following in Turkey's footsteps, India is also ditching the US dollar with regards to trade with Russia. India's imports of Russian coal increased dramatically in July, with the South Asian nation switching to non-dollar payments to secure deals, according to Reuters. Moscow is trying to avoid the dollar transactions amid US sanctions, describing the currency as toxic. In July, Russia became India's third largest coal supplier, with imports surging by more than a fifth to a record 2.06 million tons compared to the previous month. And all of this trade is happening outside of the USD. This follows Turkey's massive trade deal that Erdogan and Putin ironed out just a couple of days ago, where everything will take place outside of the US dollar. It'll take place in Turkish lira and Russian rubles. And de-dollarization also seems to be ramping up quite a bit, doesn't it? And a lot more countries, this is the interesting part, a lot more countries are more open about the fact that they're making deals and trading outside of the USD. There was a time, maybe 3-4 years ago, where countries were scared to even admit that they would make a deal outside of the US dollar. They would never dare to make deals outside of the US dollar. And if they did, well, take a look at what the Obama administration did to Gaddafi and to Libya. That was the message. Don't you dare go outside of the US dollar. Don't create, but what did Gaddafi want to create? An African, I believe he was calling it the African dinar, if I'm not mistaken. I forget what Gaddafi's vision was for a currency in Africa. I forget what he called it, but he was going to peg it on gold, and it was going to be called, I think it was going to be called the African dinar, if I've got it right. But take a look at what they did to him. So there was a time when countries were scared to death to even mention that they were going to trade in their own currency. Now, India, Turkey, China, all kinds of countries are just coming out and saying, look, we're done with the dollar. That's huge. That is the real big story in all of this, medium long term, is moving away from the USD. So everybody needs to remind me, are turtles in water or are those tortoises? I don't know. I forget. I forget these things. I'm not too smart when it comes to these types of things, but very cool. Cool animals. Cool turtles or tortoises. There's like a little, I was going to say it's like a little zoo here at the park, but it's just animals and ducks. And there used to be like goats and stuff here, but not anymore, it seems, because they're redoing the park. They're trying to fix it up. But let's get to some more stories, some more clown world stories here. But my point was that the big story, the big news in all of this is de-dollarization. I mean, that's going to be the major shift in the world, moving away from the dollar. And you're just seeing countries just much more open about saying it. They don't have a fear anymore. That fear is gone. They're not afraid. So the G7, since we're talking about the empire, the USD, the hegemon, we have the G7 foreign ministers coming out with so many ducks. Wow. Coming out with a statement, and they are ordering Russia to return the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant back to Ukraine. We demand, this is coming from the foreign ministers of the G7 countries, we demand that Russia immediately hand back full control to its rightful sovereign owner, Ukraine, of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. The G7 countries are Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the US. And according to the G7 diplomats, the move is necessary to ensure the facility's safe and secure operations. On top of that, the G7 once again called on Russia to withdraw its troops from within Ukraine's internationally recognized borders and respect Ukraine's territory and sovereignty. So the G7 is ordering Russia to just hand over the keys of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. By the way, Russia, a couple of days ago, they took the issue of Ukraine's artillery shelling of the Zaporozhye power plant. They took that to the UN and to the Security Council. So they're now on record. That was a good move. That was a smart move from Russia. And what this statement is, this is also the G7 being on record. That's what this is all about. It's not really being done with the belief that Russia's going to return the Zaporozhye nuclear plant to Ukraine. It's just being done as a way for the foreign ministers, for the foreign ministry to be on record and to document the fact that they are telling Russia to return the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant to Ukraine. Why do they want to be on record? Well, because the G7, the United States, has quietly given Ukraine the green light. They've looked the other way, is probably a better way of phrasing it. They've looked the other way towards Ukraine's shelling of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. So for them, this is kind of like, I guess the word is like plausible deniability. It's just kind of a way to excuse themselves from the fact that they've tacitly given support to Ukraine to continue to shell the Zaporozhye power plant. So if something were to happen, what is the G7 going to say? They're going to say, well, you know, we're on record as telling Russia that they need to hand back the nuclear power plant. So you see, this was all your fault. We told you to hand back the keys to the power plant. We warned you to hand back the keys to the power plant because as a G7, we felt like you weren't capable to run a nuclear power plant, as if Russia, which is the leading country that builds nuclear power plants, and I believe the Soviet Union actually built that power plant, as if they don't know how to operate and how to safeguard nuclear power plants. The Russians probably know 100 times better how to deal with a nuclear power plant than the Ukrainians. I mean, they build the things. They're building a massive one in Turkey. That's one of the big deals that they have going on in Turkey. Yeah, these ducks are huge. Beautiful. Yeah, that's what this statement is. It's just about the G7 covering their butts because they have kind of told Zelensky and the Zelensky regime, just keep on doing what you're doing. We're going to look the other way and we'll come out with a statement, cover our backsides in case something bad happens. And God forbid something bad happens. We can come and say, well, you know, we've been pleading with Russia. We've been warning Russia to give back the keys to Zaporozhye power plant because, you see, look what happened. That's what this is all about. So, Zelensky, I feel like we're going through clown worlds. Zelensky now, he said that the war in Ukraine is going to end. And it is going to end when Ukraine takes back Crimea. That's when it's going to end. In other words, for the Zelensky regime, this is a lost war. It's not going to end. And there's no way that Ukraine can possibly win because there's no way that Ukraine will ever take back Crimea. And if that was even a possibility, like even the remotest of the remotest, is that a word? Even the most remote possibility? I need a coffee. I can't speak. If this was anywhere near possible, there we go. If this was anywhere near possible, well, you would be looking at God knows what kind of war Russia would wage if they felt like there was some sort of chance to take back Crimea. Which, I mean, it's so ridiculous that I don't even think I should even discuss it anymore. I can't even figure out how that would be possible. But Zelensky is saying that this will never end until his regime takes back control of the Crimean Peninsula. Quote, this Russian war against Ukraine, against the whole of free Europe, began with Crimea and it should end with Crimea, with its liberation, Zelensky said in a video address on Tuesday. He said Crimea is Ukrainian and will never give up on it, the president vowed. And he said there will be no peace in the Black Sea and the Mediterranean regions as long as Russia is able to use our peninsula as a military base, he claimed. So it's just Zelensky figuring out ridiculous statements to continue to prolong the war because, you know, you got to sell those HIMARS, right? Those HIMARS are big business. You got to keep on selling those HIMARS, and you got to keep on making those kickbacks from, let's say, from maybe grain exports and weapon sales and all the other things that Zelensky and his production staff are filling their coffers with as they continue to buy up property in London with the help of Bojo the Clown. Something along those lines. I'm exaggerating things a bit, but probably not so much. So that is the statement from the clown puppet Zelensky. These are ridiculous statements to just keep the war going, a war which Ukraine has no chance to possibly win, but which will definitely enrich those Ukrainian officials that somehow managed to get out of Ukraine when the collapse eventually comes. That's all this statement is saying. And the people that are going to suffer are the people that are fighting in this war, the people that have to live in this war, and Ukraine and Zelensky and all the officials, the high-up officials, including the EU officials, couldn't give a damn about all of these people. They're laughing at these people, and this is my clown world. I had a tough decision. I had two stories that I was struggling with to make my main clown world, because this whole video is like a clown world. But the main clown world, I decided to go with a story about EU and Ukrainian officials laughing at all of this. Stoltenberg came out with a statement, and he said that NATO is an old and close friend of Serbia. And now we've heard everything. So we heard those statements from the Russian ambassador about Serbia, about possibly building a military base in Serbia. Now I've heard that those statements aren't exactly confirmed, and that maybe the translation was a little off. And obviously it's not a feasible idea at the moment. But it's possible. And I mentioned as Russia moves towards the border of Hungary and Poland and the EU, that a military base in Serbia becomes more tenable, becomes more workable, because everything changes, the dynamics change. You know, Bulgaria, Poland, Hungary, they may actually have to view Russia as a bordering country, as a neighbor. A lot changes when that happens, for good and for bad. But I believe in some of these countries' cases, Hungary, perhaps Bulgaria, they may shift their narrative on Russia. The population is definitely Russian friendly. And, you know, they may start to view Russia in a different light, in a more cooperative light, medium to long term, not short term, medium to long term. So a lot changes when the territory and the border changes. But you can see that NATO is panicking because Stoltenberg comes out with this statement. Serbia is a close ally, is a friend. Yeah, okay. Okay, Stoltenberg. I don't know what he's smoking, but I'm sure it's not as good as the stuff that Zelensky is snorting. Zelensky gave his nightly address yesterday to the people. He gives these evening addresses to the Ukraine people. Usually he does these addresses after he's had some of that white sugary stuff. And he said, the more powerful our weapons and the longer the range of their use, the faster this cruel war will end. So, you know, it's not going to end until we get Crimea back and send us more weapons. Send us more weapons, more HIMARS. That's what we need. Kickbacks. Remember, kickbacks. This is a war being fought by the Zelensky regime, not in a military strategic sense, but this is a war that's being fought in a marketing, PR, optics, military industrial complex, boost sales, ramp up revenue sense. That's why many people, when they're trying to analyze how Ukraine is fighting this war, they always take it from like the military strategic point of view, and they try to figure things out from a military strategic way. And they're saying, you know, why would Ukraine do that? Or why would Zelensky do that? That doesn't make any sense. You know, what are you saying, Alex? You're not making any sense here. This is military strategy 101. Ukraine won't do that. But we got to take ourselves out of trying to analyze Zelensky's moves from a military strategic way, because that's not how Zelensky sees everything that's happening right now in Ukraine. Zelensky is seeing this from a PR, optics, money, kickback, military industrial complex light. That's how he's working this war. He's not so concerned about winning as he is concerned about the media war and the military industrial complex sales and pleasing his Western masters. And right now, he's probably very concerned about finding a way to get out of Kiev and retaining his riches. And I'm sure everyone in the Zelensky regime is concerned about that. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. That's when we're looking at how Ukraine is making its military strategy, it's formulating its military strategy. We kind of got to take the word military out of there and replace it with more like media or military industrial complex strategy. And then I think many of the moves that Zelensky makes make sense in a way, because, you know, you're dealing with an actor, comedian, clown. And so he's going to act like an actor, comedian, clown who is on the payroll of the collective West. That's everything you need to know. That's why he's always coming. He's always butting heads with the generals. And that's why you see Ukraine making some crazy decisions, some crazy moves. And the generals are like pulling their hair going, what the hell are you doing? Oh, because he's not really doing things to win per se. He's doing things for other reasons. So let's get to our two clown worlds, and we'll wrap up this video. And Well, as I said, this whole video has kind of been a clown world, but actually three final clown worlds. The first one has to deal with, do you remember that journalist about like 3 months ago, that Russian journalist, Maria Ovsyannikova, Marina Ovsyannikova? She was, I don't know if it was the Perve Canal or what station in Russia she was working for. She was like the TV anchor, and she started to protest the war in Ukraine, the special military operation, and she was lashing out at Putin. And she got fired, or actually, I don't even think she got fired. I think she left, to be honest. I don't even think they fired her. Well, she left and she went to Germany. She was offered a position at, I believe it's Welt. Is that the media company in Germany? It's like a really liberal, super pro-EU, we hate Russia, neoliberal, New World Order, Klaus Schwab media channel. And they were like so proud of her that they like gave her a job, but the job was only for like 3 months. And when she got to the station, the TV station in Germany, the funny part about it was that, and I did a clown world on this, was that you had Germans and Ukrainians living in Germany protesting the fact that she was Russian and working at this German TV station. So she was criticizing Russia, and she said she wants out of Russia, and she left Russia, got a job with a German TV station, and when she arrives in Germany, she finds protesters who are upset that a Russian is working in a TV station in Germany. And so after 3 months, she was gone. And now, from what I understand, she's back in Russia. But it looks like she's been charged with a crime. That is how it looks. Let me sit down here so I can make sure I get this story right. Just checking. Kind of sat down, but it looks clean. Yeah, you always got to check the benches. And the crime that she's been charged with in Russia is spreading disinformation about the Russian military. So she returns back to Russia because she realizes that that many people in the EU are racist bigots, and they have a lot of hate for Russians. And she did not find safe harbor in Europe, and she returns back to Russia. And now she's charged with a crime for spreading disinformation about the Russian military. The 44-year-old is suspected of publicly spreading disinformation on the use of the armed forces, motivated by political, ideological, racial, national, or religious hatred, or enmity, or by hatred or enmity towards a social group. So that is a law. Like, that's a law in Russia that was passed, that you can't spread disinformation about the military operation. And I'm trying to see what that means, what that sentence carries. So last month, a Moscow court fined her 50,000 rubles, or $813. And I think she may actually even go to prison for violating this law. Her attorney, Dmitry Zakhvatov, published a post on Facebook confirming that his client had officially been charged under paragraph 207.3 of the country's penal code, which was introduced soon after the Kremlin began its offensive against Ukraine. If found guilty, the journalist could face up to 10 years behind bars. So, I don't agree with this at all. I think that Russia should not. They shouldn't put her in prison. They shouldn't charge her. If you're gonna fine her, fine. $800. You want to fine her? That's fine. I don't agree with that either. But you know, if that's the law that's on the books for spreading military disinformation, You want to pass a law like that and say during this time period of the conflict, if you spread disinformation about what's going on against our military, you're going to get fined $500 or $800. I don't agree with that either at all, but okay. But prison, I just can't agree with that at all. I think they shouldn't put her in prison just because she's from what I understand, she's saying bad stuff about Putin, the Kremlin, and even the military. You know, I understand that these are sensitive topics, and that you don't want TV personalities and anchors saying stuff about the military. Maybe there's something about this story that I'm missing. But in general, you know, let her say what she's going to say, and don't put her in prison, for God's sakes. For God's sakes, don't put her in prison. She just seems like she's confused and misguided, and she was probably, you know, her punishment has probably already been dealt out, because she was expecting a hero's welcome in Germany, and she was expecting to be treated as some type of heroic figure. And I imagine that her expectations were shattered when she found out that much of the people in Germany just don't want Russians there. I'm not saying all, but the protests, the people that were out on the streets, they protested, and she realized that there are a lot of people in Germany who are in the European Union in general, the collective West, who are so propagandized over the many, many years, many decades, going back from how Hollywood has propagandized people with an impression about Russians that is not going to change, and that is not in a favorable light. And I think she experienced that, and that's why she's back in Moscow. That's why she's back in Russia. So I think her punishment has already happened, in that things are not what she thought they were going to be like in Europe. And so things are pretty good in Russia. And I hope that she realizes that, but don't put her in prison. Anyway, let's go on to our second clown world. And of course, it has to do with the prank call to the mayor of Madrid and the pranksters. I always forget their name. Lexis and Vovan? Is that correct? Lexis and Vovan? Let me make sure. Yes, Lexis and Vovan. I remembered. So the pranksters, they called up the mayor of Madrid. The video's everywhere. Take a look at the video. The mayor of Madrid makes a complete fool of himself. But he also shows once again how many Europeans, they hate Russians. I don't know if racism is the correct word. I don't know if bigotry is the correct word. But they've been propagandized and conditioned to hate Russians. And we're seeing that come to light since the conflict in Ukraine. In other words, this was kind of hidden. Their hate towards Russians was hidden, but now it's coming to light. And it has nothing to do with Putin. This has just kind of been a hate that has been conditioned into Western society for many, many decades, and now it's just kind of come to the surface because of the conflict in Ukraine. Anyway, they prank called him, and I think they were pretending to be Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev, and the mayor of Madrid said, "I think it is necessary to punish the Russian bastards here, both in Spain and in Madrid, and of course we are doing everything we can to do that." He said that, head of Madrid, Jose Luis Martinez Almeida, who was speaking to the Klitschko's behalf, who was speaking on the Klitschko's behalf by pranksters Vovan and Lexis. Okay, so they're pretending to be Klitschko, the former heavyweight boxer, a championship boxer, great boxer, but he kind of lost his mind with the Victoria Nuland coup and everything that happened there. Anyway, he said, "We have deployed all our resources to implement EU resolutions on Russians in Spain and here in Madrid, but we have not identified any more properties owned by Russians in our city." He talked about confiscating property. Of course, you have the travel ban that I talked about in a video yesterday that they're now discussing in the 7th round of sanctions, even though you have many EU countries that are dead set against it. It's still being discussed, and it's still a possibility that they prohibit Schengen visas to Russians. So it's in the works. But anyway, that was the prank call. Look for the video. Madrid mayor pranked by Lexis and Vovan. They pranked George Bush. They pranked Stephen King. They pranked a lot of people, and now they got the mayor of Madrid. You know, it's really funny. All of these people, it's like they think when they hear like a Russian accent, speaking in English, when they hear a Russian accent, they think it's got to be someone important. Like, their mind never turns to the fact that this could be someone pranking them, or this is not Klitschko, or this is not Zelensky, or it's not Putin. You know, for some reason, all of these people in the collective West think that when they get a phone call and they listen to a Russian accent, it has to be some sort of oligarch or government official or Putin or Zelensky or something like that. It's like their mind never turns to the fact that this could be some comedian or some guy punking me, or this could be a prank joke. It's so weird. You know, it's like if I got a call from someone and they were speaking to me in English with a Greek accent, say, I wouldn't sit there and they said, "This is Prime Minister Mitsotakis of Greece." I would be like, yeah, right. You know, I mean, it just goes to show how propagandized, how dumbed down these elites have become with regards to Russia and their hatred towards Russia. Everybody that calls them that has a Russian accent, it has to be Putin. Oh my God, it's a Russian accent in English. It has to be Putin, or it has to be Zelensky, or Klitschko. There's no way it could be two Russian comedians, right? That's impossible. So they always get punked. These people are so dumb. They're so dumb. But there you can see how propagandized they've become. And I got to find a way out of here. I've kind of hit a dead end because they're fixing up the park. They've closed off so many roads, so many paths. Anyway, that's the one clown world. And the final clown world has to deal with the photo in Kiev from the German minister with Klitschko. And this was a tweet that she put out. Germany's interior minister, Nancy Faeser. She put out a photo tweet hanging out in Kiev with Klitschko as the military conflict rages in Ukraine. And I'll put a picture of the tweet and the photo up so everyone can see it. The interior minister has said that she regrets the photo that she posted. She said she regrets it during a live event with the news network R&D. She said it was certainly not appropriate. And the Interior Ministry, the minister was lambasted by commenters and the opposition after the image of her along with Germany's labor minister, Hubertus Heil, and ambassador to Ukraine, Anka Feldhusen, enjoying drinks with Kiev mayor and boxing legend Vitaly Klitschko on an open balcony surfaced online. Critics pointed out that Ukraine, which is now in conflict with Russia, was not a vacation spot or a place to post smiling pictures from. The Secretary General of the CDU, Mario Saja, insisted that the photo with champagne flutes spoke volumes about the Social Democratic Party SPD members in the governing coalition of Chancellor Olaf Scholz. You know what that picture showed me? What did I say about 10 minutes ago, 5-10 minutes ago? It showed me that they're laughing. These elites don't care. They're laughing. They're laughing all the way to the bank. Look at their actions. Don't listen to their words. Just look at their actions. Look at Zelensky's actions on the ground with his strategy with regards to fighting the war. Look at the actions of these quote-unquote elites as they sip their champagne and they're laughing about everything going on as a war is raging and people are dying and people are suffering, and they're placing sanctions on European citizens who are also now suffering economic hardships, and they're laughing, drinking champagne with Mayor Klitschko, who Volvo and Lexus rightfully pretended to be, as they prank called the mayor of Madrid, who then spouted out all kinds of hate towards Russians. Just a picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say. And look at their actions, look at their smiles, look at the champagne, and it tells you everything you need to know about this conflict and this war. It tells you everything you need to know. So I will leave it there. That is the video. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel. Go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. This is my Duran shirt with the Philippines flag right here. And I will leave it to there. TheDuran.locals.com, everybody. And of course, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and Telegram. Take care.